What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Miss Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best, and we do have our co-host James from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel that we will be welcoming in. Welcome, James.
Hey. Thank you for having me, you guys. Sorry, I'm a little nasally. My allergies is not the best this season, so I do apologize about that. But we want to send a happy birthday shout out to Mrs. Best, y'all. She working in on YouTube on her birthday just like I was. Ain't that something?
I tried to make it to where it wasn't that way. Thank you. I appreciate you. But our schedules have been crazy, like individually, and then trying to take two crazy schedules and make it work for YouTube has been interesting. But we're doing it. But thank you.
No problem.
Lord child, I'm just glad we got a 3-day
I know how you feel because I was there last month, so I know how you feel.
I know your birthday's almost 30 days before mine. It's like just under, because you're the 25th, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, of the 22nd. So almost a month. But y'all, we're here to get into the Valley. StreamYard's not showing me the rest of the title, but YouTube, you guys see that this episode was season 2, episode 6, titled Behind. What are you doing, this cat? Oh my God, he just came and sat on me. Behind Pantry Doors. This was season 2, episode 6. They starting to do the same stuff that they do on Vanderpump Rules in terms of the meanness. And that kind of bothers me, just a smidge. So we leave off last week pretty much with everybody upset at Nia for some reason because of something her husband did, even though they all did the exact same thing, because that's essentially what is happening right now. Now, Brittany and Jasmine are going off, and Brittany's just looking crazy. She always looks like that when she's drunk. Let me tell you, being botched and then her not being unattractive at all in the face prior to being botched, and then you add in the ugly cry with alcohol, it doesn't help you. I don't like Brittany, for those who don't understand, and I'm mad at Brittany because she's being a hypocrite, and I'm going to explain it in a moment. But in my opinion, they had Nia all the way twisted. They had Nia all the way twisted because Nia did not disrespect them in any way. They asked her a question. She answered it. They didn't like the answer to her question. And so they got upset at her while talking crap about her husband. Like, personally, I don't feel they can recover. But Danny ends up walking in to everybody. And as soon as he walks in, one of the ladies, I didn't catch which one of the bitches said, "You need to leave." All he did was walk in to the room. Why is anybody in the room telling him he should leave? Especially when he is the topic and or subject, however the hell you want to put it, of y'all's conversation. That's the part I didn't understand. But he didn't do anything to them. He just walked in confused, like confused as hell. So Danny and Nia end up going outside because I could see that she was getting annoyed because they were in a small space. It was a lot of them. You know, they probably smelled all sorts of stanky sweet. Y'all know how you be smelling off that tequila in that small ass room, and everybody was attacking her and her husband. So she told him to go upstairs, and they get upstairs, and she ends up breaking down. Now, at first, Nia does kind of snap at Danny because he was confused. He didn't know what the hell was going on. Danny kept asking his wife, like, huh? What happened? He just walked in a room because they were loud. And she finally explains it to him. He did seem reluctant to admit that he drank too much, but anybody who's drunk and realistically, like if we use our brains, if you're drunk, you drank too much. The goal is to get a buzz. The goal is to maybe, if you're having a really good time, get tipsy. But the way all of us, myself included, be getting drunk sometimes, we be drinking too much. So I didn't understand why Danny couldn't just admit like he did drink too much. We know he just had kids. We know he does not even get to drink like that because he explained it season 1, because they have 3 kids under the age of 3 and 2 of them is the same age and the youngest. Like, he don't have the time between being on TV, having a wife, being a father, and having his job outside of TV and any commitments that come now that he's a reality star. I'm pretty sure this man don't have the time to do like the rest of them do. But Nia basically expresses that she's hurt that Brittany went and talked bad about her and her husband behind her back. It's like what people say doesn't matter all the time, but if someone's your friend, I got where Nia was coming from. You do expect them to have a certain conduct about concerns, and it's very clear that not everybody in this friend group is close, if that makes sense. Like you can tell some of them probably have their own relationships and their own things, but then also some of them are just not that close and probably just hanging out with each other because of them being mutual. So Nia also explained to us, which I didn't feel she had to, that she and her husband are not the couple that's going to air their dirty laundry. She said that they're not perfect, and she tells us this in a confessional. She says that they have worked hard on their marriage, and that when things go wrong, if it's difficult to handle at home because they have kids, they go and they get a counselor. Individually, as a couple, I respected her for saying that because it made me look at them like they do actually have a healthy marriage. And I think a lot of people think when they look into a healthy marriage or relationship that means it's supposed to just be that fairy tale cliche bullshit. It's not that at all. Having a healthy relationship means that you are going to disagree and that you're both aware of it, but you work hard individually and together to come to a resolution, whether it be therapy, sitting in silence, taking space. You work through it and you find a way to not go through that again. And that's what I heard from them. So before we move on to what was being said downstairs, just on Nia and Danny going upstairs and him walking into stuff confused, James, how did you feel about how they handled it as a couple?
I feel two ways. One being that I feel like there's more to the surface with them that they don't want exposed on camera, but it's seeking through the cracks. Like, yeah, I feel like if they have one more argument or one more fight on camera, we'll be able to see exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could tell they're both holding back something. And then also, what I'm noticing about her when it's amongst the other group members of this show, she's an easy target, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because she's not problematic like the rest of them.
There you go. You getting it.
And and I feel like that's why these ladies feel they can attack her when they see fit, is because her issues aren't as catastrophic as, the lady over there in the corner that's married to the one in rehab, or the other one that's married to this fool that's going to divorce him. So it's like she's not problematic. So of course they're going to, out of jealousy and rage, attack her. And because she's so gullible and wants everyone to like her, she's going to fall into it. But I'd have just laughed at everybody and just said good night. Because there's no way you would have ruffled my feathers like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Her responding, like, I get why she walked in the room, because the moment somebody tells me people are having a conversation with me, I'm finna go listen to that shit and I'm gonna confront them, because whatever you have to say behind my back, you should be able to say to me. However, the tears, that's the shit that threw me off. So that's when I was like, obviously they have things that as a couple they've needed to work on, which toward the end of the episode we learned. But even at the beginning of this episode, she stated in that confessional, her and Danny are not perfect and they do have issues. She stated they've had to go to counseling before and that they work through the things and they value their marriage. So I think that with her, it seems like she really is more upset at her friends for talking about her behind her back. But in my opinion, as a wife, I feel like, yes, she should be upset with that, but she should be more upset with the fact that anybody is questioning or feels the need to comment on her husband's drinking. Because one, he's a grown-ass man. Let him be. He ain't behind the wheel of a car. He ain't injuring nobody. He has not touched any of them in this instinct. These people are upset this man went to sleep. And two, I wish the fuck a bitch would try to tell me what my husband needs to do or should do, how he should behave. If you don't like it, go away, or we will go away. So I do feel like she should be more angry at her friends also for disrespecting her marriage, because that's what they're doing. I'm not saying not to hold Danny accountable. I know some people would be like, wait, missus, but he put her in the situation by drinking like that. He came to the trip late after working. They have small kids, and he drank alcohol and he got drunk, just like everybody else drank alcohol and got drunk. So they irritated me with that. We'll move it forward, y'all. Janet is downstairs while they're upstairs in the room talking as a couple. Janet is downstairs adding fuel to the fire. She is telling everybody about how Danny went into the closet and was chugging tequila. And this is where Jasmine says everybody knows that Danny has a drinking problem. And I don't know how many people caught that, but I was looking at her like, bitch, there's a lot of ways I could come for Jasmine, but I won't, because then the LGBTQ community will come for me. But she gives pick me lesbian. Just saying.
She gives me pick me token lesbian. And you saying whatever you, and no, because that shit kind of pissed me off too. In a sense, I saw what you were seeing. It's like you want to be chosen because you know you're the minority outsider. So you're trying to make yourself prevalent by exposing whatever tea you think you know about this man. I mean, it may be obvious he has a drinking problem, or he may just like to turn up because he's stressed. He got kids at home that are very, very young and stuff, and he just may just want to, come out of his element. And I feel like as long as he's not being disrespectful or being a tyrant, I don't see what's wrong with that.
That's the thing. They, throughout this episode, Jasmine, Janet, and Brittany tried to allege not just that Danny is like, there's a difference between being a headache when drunk and being a drunk or having a problem with alcohol. And they were alluding that he was all of those things. But in the same token, season 1, Danny did not have a drink the whole fucking season. When he did, everybody was talking about it in the confessionals as a group, because Nia was a new mom and his ass can't drink because he got all these kids at work and all of that. He doesn't have the time to do it. So he was looking forward to let loose. But when he let loose, he did too much. But if y'all yourselves acknowledge that this man always does too much when he does drink, because it's rare that he does this with y'all, then how does that tell you there's a drinking problem? That tells me the nigga don't drink enough and don't know his limit.
That's exactly what that means. And I feel like instead of y'all just judging him for it, maybe y'all should put 2 and 2 together like we just did and be like, okay, well, just maybe he just needed to cut loose because he doesn't know his limit, or he doesn't know the effect that alcohol has on him. He's still trying to learn that, especially if he went a whole season not drinking. That's insane to me for y'all to say he has a drinking problem when y'all don't have any legitimate proof he has a drinking problem.
There's no proof. And you know what? I'm not saying our opinion is law to those who may disagree with myself or James. He could very well have a drinking problem, but who the hell are these people to expose that? To me, exposing somebody's addiction or medical diagnosis or anything personal of that nature is just as bad as exposing somebody's sexuality. Like, some things about people, I don't think we have the right to expose unless we are that person, even if you're the closest person to them. It doesn't give you the right to expose somebody else's situation, secret, problem, habit, whatever the hell it is. And they're not getting that. And it's funny because I'm going to just say it. These colorless people give me the type of people where if somebody like me or James was to do the same thing to them, they'd be crying in tears, ready to call the attorneys. So I don't know. I'm sick of Janet. I really am. They do say that they feel like Nia is hiding things, and it makes the group question Nia and Danny as a couple. And they say they want to be there for her. But my thing is, if you want to be there for people, you need to change your approach, because right now they're giving miserable and delusional. These women, I'm just saying, Brittany ain't got a man. Jax has never wanted Brittany and settled for Brittany because he was damaged goods and people knew not to date him after all that crap he pulled with Stassi. Janet, I personally think Jason is hiding in somebody's closet and comes out of it sometimes on the weekends when she's asleep. And as for Jasmine, again, pick me lesbian. She's used to also being the token black girl in the group. She's mean, she's negative, and I think she's trying to find a way to be relevant this season because she gives nothing. Zach If Bravo insists on making sure that they have somebody on the cast that's same sex, Zach is enough. Zach at least has the personality to make up for the lack of the storyline. Jasmine literally gives nothing. And I hate to do that to the only Black person on this cast, but what she's doing is foul, in my opinion. That's just what I'll say. We'll move on. Sheena, is she still going by Sheena Shea? I know that was her ex-husband's last name, or is she going by Brock's last name, Davies? I don't know. Sheena's little ass, because she's so damn skinny. She's so tiny. I love it. She's cute. But Sheena and Michelle go for a walk. I've done that hike that they did in LA. That hike is no joke. The fact that the women was not out of breath at the end of that hike tells me I need to get my Black ass into somebody's gym. That's what I will say. It's worth the view too if LA is not having a bad day for smog. If you know, you know. But they meet, and I'm getting tired of Jesse and Michelle's storyline. All that happened is Michelle explained to Sheena that her new boyfriend is tired of the drama that Michelle is having with Jesse. And so he said if it doesn't come to a halt, they're going to have to break up. I'm not mad at the man. Are you mad at the man, James?
No, not at all.
What did you expect, Michelle?
I feel like that's a given. Like, hello?
No, this is why I say to people, and I'm starting to see it online more, especially when they're talking about on the internet, Papoose and that Clarissa Shields, because he's not actually divorced from Remy Ma. If somebody is not living with the person they're married to and tells you that they're going to get a divorce, they are still in a relationship. Now, I know y'all may be like, what? That doesn't make sense. When you're married, it's different. Until that paperwork is annulled, finalized, if you get in a divorce, until it's done, you've gone through the court, you've gone through the mediations, the prenup's been enforced, whatever it is, they are still in a fucking relationship. And I feel like Michelle and Jesse are a good example of that because she argues with that man as if she is still with him and fighting for something. But y'all divorce is almost final. So what? I'm sure you're just waiting on a custody agreement. There's no reason for Michelle to be arguing that much with this man. She could film the show and ignore him. Do you have anything to add to her news with Sheena?
No. I don't have anything because I don't know her yet, and I still need to kind of.
You're not going to know much about Michelle. She doesn't. Season 1, all we got was her miserable with Jesse. It was very clear she was sick of him and not knowing if she wanted to stay in her marriage. So all she did was complain. In group settings, she never does or says too much. Now her storyline is trying to live her life while divorcing Jesse. But by herself, I don't care about her. You know what I mean? I just don't. She's very closed off. That's why I'm like, y'all attacking Mia. But in my opinion, Michelle is closed off. Now, if your spouse is on TV acting a fool, then yeah, your problems are going to be on display. But just saying, season 1, Jesse, I don't understand it. I just don't. Moving on. Jesse meets with a marriage coach. This is the same. I guess he's not a counselor. He's a coach, whatever the fuck that means. This is the same marriage coach that met with Jesse and Michelle in the previous season. I never think it's a good idea to meet with like your personal therapist after you're also doing couples counseling, because it seems like it could become problematic somewhere in there, but okay. But the therapist and his metaphors were just lackluster. The only good thing this guy told Jesse was to be accountable within himself. I'm going to give the floor to James because I really don't like Jesse. I don't like Michelle, not individually. I don't like the place they have in this group. They just remind me of a milder Jackson Brittany, and I don't think they need to be on the show. So go ahead, James. How you feel about that little scene?
That it was, first off, that didn't even seem legit or real. Let's make perfectly clear. I think you tried to avoid not saying that. So I'm going to say it for you. That did not seem real at all. That seemed very contrived and very for the show. And you could tell that she was coerced into coming because she didn't want to be there. And you could tell he just needed camera time because he likes to be seen. So they annoy me heavily. And the reason why they annoy me heavily is because they're both toxic people, just in different ways. And they're the chemical reaction that we call in biology that should have never mixed in the first place. So I don't have much to say on it just because I couldn't even get through the scene because it just was bullshit.
It was. I don't care about Jesse either. But he has such a big ego. You could tell, like you said, he just wanted the camera time, and it was lackluster. And his backyard is the example of why a lot of rich people are leaving California. Because I guarantee you, the property that he has in the location of that, he is a Hollywood Hills home with some type of a view, but everything just feels so slender. And if you guys have ever been to the Hollywood Hills or really to lots of LA, like the houses are very close to each other and they're oftentimes very, very small. And oftentimes you lose great value in them when the earth shake. If you know, you know. I just don't like his small backyard. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. But moving on, Kristen and Luke are renting a new house. Now, I'm mad at Kristen because Kristen had bought a house when she was leaving Vanderpump Rules when, you know, Ariana and Tom and Katie, everybody was buying houses on Vanderpump Rules. And Kristen had bought one, and it was the cutest little home, And she gave that up because I guess her ex, she was with someone who's not the best. And she ended up giving up her home. Now she's renting. And it's very hard to get a home, especially in Southern California. It's harder down there. It's way harder down there. So I'm looking at them like, good, you're renting a home. But I was looking at her body and I was like, I wonder if she was pregnant and just didn't want to tell anybody at this time in this scene. I will say I'm happy for Kristen and Luke, but Jasmine and her messy ass comes by. And Jasmine, Kristen, and Luke discuss what happened with Nia and them on the last night of the Santa Barbara trip. And this is where Jasmine says that there's no way Danny could be tired. And she insults what he does for a living, which pissed me off. I say, you miserable bitch with the basic face. I can't stand you. Because why are you talking about his job? How hard could his job be? All he does is stand in a booth and talk. It's giving jealousy. It's giving jealousy because why are you attacking what he does for work? It actually is hard to stand in a booth and talk. It may not be hard in the way that a basic bitch like Jasmine could understand, but for people who work in the industry, people who work in the creative arts, things like that, it's not easy to be an actor, a singer, a rapper, a dancer, a voice actor. Those things are not easy to do. Like, none of it. I feel like James will understand that because he has actually written a book. And that counts to me as a creative art and a creative way to make money. And a lot of times, especially back in the 90s and in today's time, anybody could get a book deal. Anybody can write a book. Anybody can become a bestseller and anybody can. But like, it kind of like diminishes the work that people put into what they do. So I'm looking at Jasmine like, what do you do? At least we know what Danny does. What do you do? Does anybody know what Jasmine does? Please leave a comment if you do so I can be proven wrong. What does she do that she's hating on people's jobs? I don't understand it. But she then tells these people that she wants to apologize to Nia, which I'm like, how you want to apologize to her when you're still talking about her husband? You can't be friends with anybody who's married if you're going to disrespect their spouse. You don't have to have a relationship with their spouse. James and my husband are not like close friends. They know each other, but they're not close friends. And I'm not close friends with his spouse either. But you don't need to be close friends with someone else's spouse. You just need to respect them if you care about the person, right? I thought that's how it went. If I were Danny and Nia, though, honestly, I think that they're going to watch this and realize that Jasmine is not a friend and they need to just be cordial and maybe go as far as when I'm around these people, I wouldn't drink at all. because they only around them sometimes. I wouldn't deal with them no more. So Kristen explains to Jasmine that she's wrong, and Luke explains the same thing. And, you know, Jasmine kind of seemed to get the point. It looked like she accepted that people weren't going to accept what she was trying to do with Nia and them, because, like James said, they are kind of the easiest target. But this is where it goes from reality TV drama to slight bullying. Because what the hell are you doing? Why are you coming for these people? Then she tells a sad story. Well, it was meant to be sad. It didn't move me at all, about how being a lesbian and being a woman is difficult. And, you know, if this were a situation in referencing what Danny did last year that she already got an apology and claimed to have forgiven him for, when he got too drunk and asked her to get a drink after grabbing her thigh and touched her girlfriend's butt. Now she's bringing that up again and saying that if that were Kristen and Luke or Jason and Janet, like, Danny would have been confronted and almost in a fight, but because they're women, he got away with it. He didn't get away with it because everyone held him accountable, and he apologized, and you chose to accept it. And now you're randomly moving on, and now you're randomly bringing it back up over a year later for God knows what reason. So I'm kind of looking at her like, don't you dare use your fucking sexuality as a way to get out of being accountable for overreacting to some shit that you yourself had already forgiven. That is an insult to people in the LGBTQ community who actually do experience what she described and actually do deal with differences in treatment based on gender and orientation. But that is not the case in this accepting ass group. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, we still don't know what you do for a living. You gave us nothing last season. You're giving us nothing this season. And now when you show us something, you're mean and you make no sense. I don't get it. So James, how did you feel about the scene of Kristen and Luke and them? Because Jasmine she can go.
She can go. I already said I don't think she fits the mold anyway. Now that you mentioned we don't know what she does for a living. We don't know what, she's basically Tommy from Martin on the show, just there, not knowing what she does. But it's just kind of like, to me, this is a screech to be seen in a demographic in which you regularly are not seen. So I feel like she's pulling shit up out her ass to make herself prevalent on this show just as much as the rest of them.
Yep.
And it's not landing well. And that's why I don't take her serious at this time right now, because I can see what she's doing. And she's going about it the complete wrong way. The problem, sis, I'm gonna keep it real with you, Jasmine. The problem is you need more than just you on this show in order for what you're doing to stick. Because now you're going to be known and looked at amongst these other clear folks as the angry Black woman when you do stuff like this. This is how a lot of Black women fall into this trap. Instead of you just maneuver around everybody. See, the thing about it is you have to maneuver around and be messy, but be messy in a way where not only is it entertaining, but it's clever. Because none of these people are astute. So you could easily maneuver your way through this whole group, make everybody fall out with each other, and be the person on top. But the problem is you don't know how to do it, and then you're going about it this way. I don't know if you think you're a clear person as well. I don't know what you think you are, but this ain't the way.
Yeah. Yeah, she you could tell she's somewhere in the middle, because she always has to remind us, like, Black people, we don't do this. What Black people? Where's your mom? Where's a sibling? Where's a friend that's not in this group? Where's anything? Where is anything? And honestly, her girlfriend not interesting either. They may be good people outside of this, but I don't think she's for reality TV, and I feel like she's fighting for her life to stay on this show. I really do. I really do. Let's keep it moving, y'all. So I'm not going to go into this scene too much. Danny goes ring shopping with Luke. He does end up picking a beautiful ring for Kristen. I wish them the best. I think this is good for Kristen. She kind of bounced around. She dated a few people after breaking up with Sandoval, which is what you're supposed to do after you break up with someone you were with for so long. I'm not talking about them itty bitty relationships. I'm talking about like she was with Sandoval all of her 20s, moved to California with him, all these crazy things. So, I wish them the best, and that's it. We're gonna move on. Nice ring. Brittany and her dirty heel. I don't know if anybody paid attention. The bottom of her heel was extremely dirty. It was like covered in dirt or mud or something. I don't know what that was about. But she has a dinner. Everybody wants to confront Nia at this dinner, which I felt was the wrong approach. You each disrespected her individually. You each spoke about her. Do not give me no fucking planned apology. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, y'all. Planned apologies. Like, if we're in a group and then the group is like, yeah, we just want to say sorry, then I'm going to feel away because I'm like, y'all was talking about me prior to be able to even get together to think that you need to apologize. And I would have needed to know everything that was said because I'm a Gemini and that's how it works in my brain. But they bring Nia together and, Brittany's fake ass speaks and apologizes first, and she blames her behavior on the liquor. Hey, Brittany, why you're so busy accusing and alleging that someone else has an alcohol problem and someone else's husband is out of control, why don't you roll the tape on Vanderpump Rules on all the time that Jax has done horrible things to women and men on the show, including your dumbass self, and how you defended it? But you're mad at Nia for defending or not telling you something about her husband? Let's talk about the fact, Brittany, that at the beginning of this season, it was exposed that your husband has a coke problem. He liked to sniff the snow. You kept that secret from the group, but you're mad at Nia and trying to yell at her for doing something that you actually did do with the spouse that actually did and does have some type of a problem. Just wondering, Brittany, just wondering how that works. She is one of the biggest hypocrites on TV. Also, Brittany, when you gonna tell us, instead of yelling at Jax about what went in his nose, how many times and how much candy went up in your nose? Because your face don't look the same.
Mm.
Because I highly doubt, because you was partying with Jax. That's why he struggled when you suddenly want to place boundaries. Because you've been partying with him this whole time. Brittany, you're sitting here alleging these things of Nia's husband when last season your husband was alleging that you had an alcohol problem and like to get so fucked up and drunk that you were fucking up on getting your son assessed and meeting the needs of your child and being a parent. So Brittany, of all of these people, the reason I point these things out is not to tear her down, but it is comical. And this is what I mean by misery loves company. This lady is so miserable that she is now mad that somebody else's husband got fucked up drunk after already having an incident. Her husband apologized for it without having to be told, though. And it seems like she's just projecting and looking for someone to be as miserable as her because that's not the case. She's mad. So that's how I come at Brittany. I also don't like that she blamed it on the liquor. Jasmine apologizes next. It was dry. It was extremely dry. And Janet did not apologize. She just sat there in the corner looking confused and evil. Side note, Janet is highly unattractive. Just saying. She is. When she be at her confessionals dressed up, I'd be like, oh. She be having me thank my ancestors on my knees and feet. She do. But Jasmine brings up the incident that happened with Danny, her, and her girlfriend from months ago, again, after apologizing. And the worst thing you can do is say, I'm sorry, but my behavior was based on something you and yours did to me. It's like, no, your behavior is based on you and nothing else. The people, in my opinion, are just self-centered and fake. And Nia explains that she and Danny have to go to therapy over what he did to Jasmine and her girlfriend. And that's when Jasmine got quiet, because it's like you're trying to come at her for something that she actually held him accountable for, he was accountable for, and it caused an issue in their marriage. You're mad your girlfriend was touched, but imagine how the wife of someone who goes through that feels when their spouse is acting like that in front of them in public. It's interesting that this group can have empathy and sympathy for Brittany when Jax does these things, but now that it's Nia in somewhat of a similar situation, allegedly, like now nobody can support her. So I feel like they're all full of it. But Nia explains to the group that their opinion is based on the fact that they do not know her, and she sees that they have a perspective about her that they're unable to understand or see. And she explains that growing up, she grew up homeless, sleeping in shelters. Even as a young adult, she was homeless. She went to work and had to sleep in her car in parking lots. Uh, she went through things that are very difficult. And I'm going to tell y'all this: homelessness in California, a lot of people move here thinking, oh, the weather's great, it'll be okay. The shit that, like being a social worker, the shit that I see, especially serving a homeless population, the shit that they go through is horrible. Like, yeah, the weather may be right, but there's 1,000 times more things that most people who have even had a hard life or think they've been around the block would never imagine would happen. So anytime I hear that someone had to go through that in childhood, especially in the LA metro area, I feel for you. And I think it's commendable that she's been able to come up. But she explains that this is why she's more reserved and calm. And what I heard from her is she's truly humble. She says, why should she focus her time on negative things or commit to being mad at people, or why should she focus her time on that when she has so many different things to be grateful for now? And I said, I wish she didn't say that, because I've been homeless, I've slept outside, slept on the street, slept on beaches, all of that. So I empathize with anyone who's been through it. It's a lot to get out of it, especially in California. But not everybody respects your struggle, and not everybody respects your story, and not everybody will have genuine empathy. And for people who have never gone through nothing, like most of these people are privileged and grew up like that. And so I don't think they're able to relate to someone like Nia. I just don't. And Jasmine included. I think that's why she is in a friend group such as this, is what I will say. Uh, but they kept trying to say that she hides stuff, and that she doesn't hold her husband accountable. It's almost like they want her to treat and respond to her husband in a certain way. And it's like, you cannot tell her how to respond to or what to accept from her husband. You just can't. It doesn't make any sense. But Janet's negative ass decides, after Nia breaks down and everyone makes peace, and and it's like, oh, okay, we didn't realize that, and that's why you're so calm and this and that. Janet decides to mention seeing him chug the tequila in the closet. And she also makes a comment that if Nia has concerns about Danny's drinking, that she is willing to be there for her and wants her to feel safe to open up to her. And she goes and says that she had an ex or somebody that she knew who was close to her who struggled really bad with drug and alcohol problems. So she understands how it feels and wants to be there. Nia immediately shutted it down, as she should, because they took it a step further. It's one thing to feel uncomfortable because of an incident, but now you're alleging that he has a full-blown alcohol problem. And she's like, don't make statements like that. And I looked at Janet. I said, Janet is some type of a snake and some type of a Karen. But Jasmine is just as bad, because as soon as Nia left, Jasmine starts talking shit about her and is still alleging that he has a problem with alcohol on camera in front of the world, not just privately. And I feel like Jasmine just needs to let it go, because she's already gotten her apology. She really has no reason to be mad. And in this situation, Danny was asleep. He didn't actually do anything wrong. He didn't do anything to make them uncomfortable that was like intentional or something that would be a concern. But I also don't understand, Jasmine. If you're so triggered by what Danny did, then why do you want to talk to him? She says she wants to talk to Danny and confront him about these things. If I'm triggered and someone's traumatic for me, I'm not going to go and confront them. So I'm sick of Jasmine. But before we get to what happens when Nia leaves, James, how did you feel about all of that at that dinner?
It was a lot. And once again, y'all, I'm trying to follow everybody. I'm trying to make sure I understand some of these storylines. I'm trying to understand some of these cast members and or friend of. So I just felt like Janet is a hypocrite because didn't she just have a situation with the other LGBT member of this group?
Yep.
Okay, so that was hypocritical of her. So I'll start there. Um, I don't know. I need something else on this show. Like I'm gonna be real with you. I need another spark of something because it just seems like I'm in watching Latchkey, from a different television show that just decided to get their own show because they would be entertaining esque group members that aren't entertaining at all. Like, what am I watching?
Hmm. I agree. I actually agree with that. Here's the thing, and this is why VPR is dead. They got a whole new cast. They're going to try the reboot. Bravo needs to just learn to let shows go instead of trying to reboot them. But this is why Vanderpump Rules is dead. These people are actually, a lot of them, friends in real life, have known each other for years in real life while VPR was filming and all of that. So we know that they've got a legit friend group. But what James always says when we go over Summer House Martha's Vineyard, which is also now on hiatus until further notice and may not be coming back, is bring back the real world days. And when I say that, I mean to say bring back casts that do not know each other. The dynamic will always be better. And then you have more longevity with the show because then we get to watch these people learn each other, get to know each other, watch bonds form, break. When you think about it, everyone's like, what's missing? We need the OGs back. We need that. No, we need a cast of people that don't know each other like that, with maybe a couple of them that might have been acquaintances and stuff like that. Because this is not working. I see the issues getting too deep to where they'll never find resolution, especially when you play with people's marriages. I know some of y'all may love your partners and feel like, oh, it's just a piece of paper. You could feel that way, but to people who actually went and said them vows and paid them fees, got a witness, got some signatures, and did all of that, is that much more. So if somebody comes for your spouse in a way that could really harm their reputation, if I were Nia and Danny, I wouldn't want to film around Brittany, Jasmine, or Janet. I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. But I do think they're all miserable because Nia in real time now is pregnant again by her husband, who they feel drink too much. So go girl. And so is Kristen. So that's pretty much, let me see, what did I miss? Oh yeah, back at home, before we move on, back at home, Nia's telling Danny um what Janet said, and he was pissed off, but you could tell Danny just laughed it off. Um but he does tell an interesting part. She confronts him about him drinking the tequila in the closet. She's like, "Did that happen?" And he's like, "Yeah, but that's where the alcohol was stored." And I'm like, you know what? I did see people, because I went back and looked in the previous episodes while they were in Santa Barbara. And if you guys go and rewatch, there were people going in and out of that closet. The alcohol was in there. And they were coming out with big ass handles of drink. So it would make sense that on the last day of the trip, for him to be around there getting alcohol. And he didn't close the door. It sounds like the door closed on him. I don't know. I know they showed the scene some time ago. I'm just gonna wait for the reunion to rewatch it to see if he was telling the truth. But either way, he didn't touch anybody. I don't see the big deal. I think they're just looking to make this couple get into it with each other. And Jason, I don't understand why you feel the need to talk to Danny after hearing from your messy ass fucking wife. What happened? None of this involved your wife. None of this is you or your wife's business. Neither you or your wife was put in a compromising or uncomfortable position. I'm starting to notice that Jason and Janet like to be in everyone's business. But Janet is messy. She's mean. She stirs the pot and then hides her hand. And then she goes and cries to her man, Jason, who then feels the need to go and give everybody a good stern talking to. Why? Jason's an attorney. How does he have so much time to do all of this? Just saying. But James, do you have anything you want to add to those last few scenes before we end this live?
No,
Because
I really don't have, because to me that was so gaslighting
yeah,
for her to even question him about it. Like, you supposed to know your husband better than anybody. So when
yeah,
people are alluding to things that may or may not have happened, you're supposed to know your husband best. I would even ask that question.
mm,
I would even have said anything. I would have laughed that off because I know who I deal with every day. So why would I question it now? And to me, I felt like either the production egged her on to do that, or she felt some type of insecurity, because there's no way I would have asked that question.
yeah. Production had to have egged her on, but I know Nia and Danny need the money on the show, but I wish they'd leave. Like, I wish she'd go get other engagements because the rest of this group is messy, and I feel like they always bring like good people on the show, and then the messy people kind of destroy them. I don't want that to happen with these two just because they have the small kids. So hopefully it'll be better next episode because it looked like they gonna come for Janet. You worried about the wrong things because the preview for next week, somebody said Janet worried about all of this when we really need to worry about Jason not wearing his wedding ring. I said, okay. I'm telling you, misery loves company. But that's it, you guys. We'll be back on my channel on. I have an extremely busy weekend, so I'm going to be back on this channel on Saturday. Today is my birthday, for those who do not know. So I have to work and all of those things. You know, we got to be responsible. But my husband has a very full weekend planned for me. So I cannot do Never Ever Mets on Sunday. So I'm going to just do it on Saturday in the morning. I will talk to James to see if he's able to join. If he is, yay. If not, I will catch him on the next one. And then other than that, I have music reactions dropping. I am not sure when we'll be back on James's channel because his schedule's been crazy. Do you know, or do you want to wait and announce?
I don't know when I'm gonna be on my channel, because as I have a busy week, because this is my first Saturday working at my job, because I'm now doing 6 days officially this week. So I don't know when I'm gonna be back. I know for sure it'll be Monday because I'm gonna do RHOA, so probably Monday.
Okie dokie. You guys, the link to James's channel is in the link. The link is in the link. The link to his channel is in the description of this video. Be sure to subscribe to his channel. That way you will get notified when he does go live. But we appreciate everybody for being here. We hope that you tune into the music reactions, and we hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day because it is Monday. Adios.
Have a good one.